Right now, on to the point. As the redistricting battle heads to California voters, tonight, the concern over why San Joaquin County could be split up even more.
Why did they change, and who was involved in the process, and where were the citizens?
1 month after a deadly explosion at a fireworks warehouse, the state fire marshal takes action against the companies involved. 4 years after the start of the Caldor fire here in El Dorado County, a Grizzly Flats family is finally seeing their home rebuilt. The emotional story of how they got here. On the back roads, a historic spot to take a soak.
We do believe that there's some real positive benefits.
Happy Friday, and thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Becca Habiger. Well, it's been a packed week at the state capitol with redistricting now heading to voters this fall. Yesterday, Governor Gavin Newsom and state Democrats celebrated a win as their push for a new congressional map will now go to a November special election. Here's how we got here. Governor Newsom started the redistricting campaign to counter the 5 Republican seats President Trump wants in Texas.
A special election would be called. It's likely to be the first week of November.
Under Governor Newsom's redistricting plan, the new redrawn congressional maps would potentially add 5 more Democratic seats in Congress. Yesterday, Governor Newsom signed redistricting legislation that calls for a special election on November 4th. One proposition on the ballot will ask voters if they want to temporarily bypass the nonpartisan redistricting committee and replace existing maps with the proposed maps for the next 3 election cycles through 2030. This is not happening without legal battles. Earlier this week, the California Supreme Court denied a request from state Republican lawmakers to pause this process. Now, some Republican leaders are calling on the Department of Justice to investigate what's happened at the Capitol over the past couple of weeks. Now, local counties and cities are weighing the impacts of possibly split districts. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen has been following the redistricting battle for weeks now and joins us tonight with how San Joaquin County is responding to the proposed maps.
Becca, right now, San Joaquin County has 2 congressional districts, but these proposed maps would divide the county into 5 different districts. For one county board supervisor, he says splitting the county up into that many districts is a disservice to the residents.
This is just another example of Sacramento has put political party over the people that they're supposed to represent.
San Joaquin County Supervisor Robert Rickman says what happened on Thursday is anything but transparent.
The transparency in this process is non-existent.
Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation to hold a special election in November to ask voters to approve new congressional maps. But the proposed maps will split San Joaquin County into 5 different districts as opposed to its current 2. Supervisor Rickman says that doesn't represent the needs of the close-knit community within the county. He says he was part of the redistricting committee for the county and voter participation was crucial.
You're going to have families that have lived there for generations, and the one family member is going to have one congressional member, another family is going to have another congressional member.
While on the assembly floor on Thursday, Republican Assembly member Heath Flora also expressed concerns about splitting up Lodi, the area he represents.
Lodi is split into 3 congressional districts, almost in the center of town. A community that is, by and large, family, have been there for generations, a farming community. We've now split that.
Last week, Paul Mitchell with Redistricting Partners, who was a part of drawing the proposed maps, told ABC 10 the current maps that were approved by the Independent Redistricting Commission inspired the new maps, adding less cities were divided.
Our plan, it cuts fewer cities. So the state redistricting map cuts 60 cities that the commission passed. Our map cuts 57 cities. That means that 57 cities are divided like San Jose or Sacramento or Los Angeles, where they're in multiple districts.
Paul Mitchell wasn't able to do an interview with us today, but he, along with many Democratic leaders in the state, stand by the fact that this is a transparent process because the ultimate decision will be in the hands of the voters. Becca.
Jeannie, thank you. Well, it's set to be a long night in the Texas Senate as they debate that state's Republican redistricting bill. They adjourned last night without voting. We want to show you a live look from the Texas Senate floor. The Senate vote is the final legislative hurdle for the GOP's plan to redraw the state's congressional maps to give Republicans 5 more favorable House districts ahead of next year's midterm elections. Today, Democratic State Senator Carol Alvarado said she plans to filibuster the bill. In 2021, she spoke for 15 hours to protest voting restrictions that later became law. The House approved the plan on Wednesday, and Governor Greg Abbott has said he would quickly sign it. And you can watch more of our redistricting coverage, including yesterday's speeches by state lawmakers and Governor Newsom, by downloading the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. California's long-delayed high-speed rail project is slated to be operating in the Central Valley by 2032. That's according to a new report released today by the HighSpeed Rail Authority. The report also says the project is far short of the $87 billion in funding it needs to connect north toward San Francisco and south toward LA. The Trump administration also recently pulled $4 billion in federal funding for the project. The Central Valley segment from Merced to Bakersfield is expected to cost nearly $37 billion. State leaders are scheduled to speak about the latest report and updates on Monday. Well, coming up on To The Point, 4 years after the Caldor fire burned through Grizzly Flats, many survivors are still living in trailers. But tonight, a home rises from the ashes. And a wildfire continues to burn in wine country. An update on the firefight in Napa County.
And we will see some smoke once again tonight from the picket fire. Tomorrow is another hot day, though. The good news is temperatures starting to trend downwards. We'll talk about that after the break.
But first, in other headlines tonight, 2 companies and their owners associated with the July 1st Esparto fireworks explosion no longer have state licenses. The state fire marshal revoked them, saying Kenneth Chi, his company Devastating Pyrotechnics Inc., and Craig Cutright and his company Black Star Fireworks violated California's fireworks laws and regulations. The company's lawyer says they will appeal the decision. At least 5 people, including children, were killed after a tour bus returning to New York from Niagara Falls crashed along Highway 90 east of Buffalo. Police say the bus lost control, crashed into a ditch, and rolled over. Several people were trapped and others were ejected. Dozens of people were also hurt. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced today he's lifting retaliatory tariffs placed on a list of American products. The move takes effect September 1st and will apply to goods that comply with the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement. The 25% tariff placed on American steel and aluminum, as well as tariffs on American cars, will stay in place. An update now on a wildfire burning in Napa County. The picket fire started yesterday afternoon near Calistoga. 3 night flying helicopters were used to fight the flames last night. More than 3,000 acres have burned and it is 7% contained. Several wineries are in the evacuation zone. And this, by the way, is the same area as the 2020 Glass Fire. Let's toss it now to ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchep, who is tracking the impacts of this fire.
Yeah, lots of smoke for our region, especially once we get into the overnight hours. I know the I-505 corridor last night, Esparto and Winters especially, had a lot of smoke. That'll be the case once again. So you see the perimeter of the picket fire here, and here's Calistoga. So it's just off to the northeast side of town and continuing to progress off to the east. This is the Alert California wildfire camera from Lake Berryessa looking into that smoke column, and just look at how much smoke there is. That is what's going to be ending up in the valley. So as we look at that smoke forecast headed through the evening and overnight, as we get just a little bit of that westerly wind, it comes flowing right back into the valley. Esparto, Winters, potentially Woodland, Knights Landing as well, Williams up into Colusa County, and then Yuba City, Marysville also likely to see some smoke this evening continuing through the overnight. So it's another night you're going to want to sleep with the windows closed and the AC on. Made it to 103 in Sacramento today, 100 in Stockton, 99 in Modesto, 100 in Auburn, and 90 up in Truckee. And that 103 in Sacramento is the hottest day of the year so far. Previously, we made it to 102 5 times. A warm morning on Saturday. We're back in those mid-60s, some parts of the valley, some upper 60s. I've got 66 as a starting temperature in Sacramento tomorrow morning, about 62 in Stockton, 65 in Modesto, 77 in Placerville. Very warm up in that thermal belt of the foothills, 50 in Truckee and 51 in South Lake Tahoe. Saturday afternoon, though, still hot. I'm not going to say it's cool or cooling, but it is going to be marginally lower. So a lot more 90s as opposed to hundreds tomorrow afternoon. It's the start of a slow downward trend in temperatures, about 99 in Stockton, 102 in Modesto, mid to upper 90s in the foothills. Some clouds through the overnight hours for the valley, but look what happens tomorrow afternoon. We're going to see some more showers and thunderstorms in the Sierra, mainly from the crest off to the east, but all weekend long we're going to be tracking that chance for showers and thunderstorms in the Sierra. That continues, of course, on Sunday and then into next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, looking at those showers and thunderstorms again. So there is a high risk for new fire starts, especially in the northern Sierra due to lightning strikes. But there should be rain with a lot of these thunderstorms, which should somewhat mitigate that new fire start risk. Daily thunderstorm chances in the Sierra through at least the first half of next week. In the valley, we stay dry and temperatures slowly working their way back down towards seasonal. We'll be back near seasonal by midweek. Becca.
Very good, Brendan. Thank you so much. Well, next on To the Point. After losing everything in the Caldor fire, we meet one El Dorado County couple finally seeing walls go up on their new home. How a new ordinance is turning tragedy into hope. And later, a trip to the back roads of Oregon and a resort with a colorful past and healing waters. Wildfire survivors in a rural El Dorado County community are still fighting for FEMA assistance 4 years after the Caldor fire destroyed their town. Many are still living in trailers on their burned out properties, unable to afford to move or rebuild. But tonight, a story of hope. We'll show you the progress on one home after so much tragedy.
I had grabbed my portfolio when we evacuated, so I have a visual record, at least, of my paintings.
Artist Kathy Adams can fit her surviving work on a single wooden plaque.
The only thing of my artwork that came through was ceramic.
She and Mac McNeil lost their Grizzly Flats home 4 years ago in the Caldor fire. Starting on August 14th, 2021, the Caldor fire burned more than 220,000 acres over more than 2 months, destroying more than 1,000 structures. Hundreds of those were in the small, rural, largely middle to low-income community of Grizzly Flats. There, people like Mac and Kathy are looking for a path forward 4 years later.
A whole lot of people still out here living in trailers. You know, it's not easy.
We first introduced you to this couple back in May when we covered the groundbreaking on their house.
2, 3.
The formerly empty lot now has a lot more to show. Mac and Kathy are the first to utilize a new ordinance through El Dorado County called Title 25. It involves free, pre-reviewed plans for a 750 square foot home. The process is meant to be fast-tracked and cost-efficient for survivors of the Caldor fire in the Grizzly Flats and Phillips areas.
Well, today we're standing in front of the first Title 25 home in El Dorado County. It's the first home rebuilt by a charitable organization.
Caleb Armstrong is president and CEO of Nonprofit Construction Corporation, the licensed general contractor on the job.
Well, this is the interior of the home.
He says Nonprofit Construction is building this house using donations and the proceeds from private jobs. Plus, subcontractors are donating labor and materials.
This will be the kitchen.
Like Chris D'Angelo of D'Angelo Construction.
They're living in an RV right there. And as we're here building and we're putting up walls, you know, and they come out and look, you know, they get to see a house become a house right in front of them. It's pretty special.
After 4 long years, Mac is finally feeling some hope.
What Caleb is doing is achieving a miracle. He's getting a house built. We're very happy to see that because nobody else did it.
Kathy told me in May she'll believe it when she sees it.
Yeah, I believe it now.
So some more optimism than when we first talked.
Oh, yeah. We've had so many disappointments and setbacks through the years. Now I'm getting a castle.
But they say the trauma of losing their home and animals remains raw.
We cry a lot. Like I said, I lost my cats.
So many survivors are still struggling to rebuild, in part because even though FEMA issued a major disaster declaration for the broader community, it denied individual assistance. Congressman Kevin Kiley, who represents the area, has been fighting for years to get that individual assistance for folks in Grizzly Flats. Last month, in a House committee hearing, he asked the FEMA acting administrator to revisit the case.
Is this something that you might be able to look into and talk with the president about to finally get the victims of the fire in the Caldor fire, the victims in Grizzly Flats, the individual assistance they deserve?
The acting administrator said he would ask. I reached out to FEMA and the White House for an update. A White House spokesperson tells us, quote, the president responds to each request for federal assistance under the Stafford Act with great care and consideration while providing for the fair and impartial consideration of appeals in line with existing practices allowed by law. We have not yet heard back from FEMA. And by the way, nonprofit construction is ready to be hired for licensed general contractor work. The money made from jobs goes right back into building homes for people who couldn't otherwise afford it. If you would like to hire them or donate directly to the nonprofit, we have a link on abc10.com/links. Well, after the break, we are heading to the back roads of Oregon, a resort with a colorful past where history and hot springs come to life. You never know what you'll see on the back roads. Right now, John Bartel takes us over the California state line to enjoy a relaxing soak in eastern Oregon's hot lake.
If you don't like the weather in Oregon, wait 10 minutes. That's a common phrase Oregonians like to tell visitors.
There's a wet one out here.
The weather did not change when I visited Hot Lake Springs Resort in La Grande, Oregon. I actually had to wait the next day to get these drone shots. The good news is, a hot springs is the perfect place to hang out in less than favorable weather.
You don't think about breathing that fresh air when it's pouring down rain or it's windy or it's cold. Hot springs give you that.
Mike Rezevi's the owner of Hot Lake Springs Resort, and since I forgot my swimsuit, he took me on a little tour.
Hot Lake Springs is one of the largest and certainly the hottest hot springs in the Northwest.
Mike says the geothermal water comes out of the ground at 180 degrees. The steam coming off the water is like a natural advertisement for drivers along Interstate 84, but to soak in the water, it must be cooled down and then put into these separate tubs so people can enjoy the mineral-rich and fragrant water.
What is that smell that I'm smelling out here? We've got a sulfur smell here. It's hydrogen sulfide. I mean, we're made from the earth. We're supposed to be bringing this in. It's great stuff.
The Nez Perce called it Ikeshapa. Oregon Trail travelers called it a miracle pit stop. And in its heyday, the famous Brick Hotel was known as the Mayo Clinic of the West.
I think that some of the taglines have been like, limp in, skip out.
Hot Lake was first established in 1884, but it was Dr. Fye in 1906 who turned it into a health spa with 100 guest rooms, a dance hall, and a promise that the mineral water could fix just about anything.
There was a bank, there was a post office, there was tailors. It was called the city under one roof. So there was most likely more amenities here at Hot Lake than there was anywhere else in the whole county.
Back in the early 1900s, you didn't just drop in for a quick soak. Guests took the waters, meaning they soaked in the geothermal mineral baths and drank up to a gallon a day to reap the full benefits of the volcanically heated water.
We don't know all the benefits of soaking or the hot springs, but we do believe that there's some real positive benefits to mental health and physical health.
In 1934, a devastating fire wiped out many of the wood structures. New owners tried to save Hot Lake, but eventually it fell into disarray, and by the 1990s, it was basically a ghost town. As the building decayed, rumors of paranormal activity started to spread, so much so that the TV show Scariest Places on Earth investigated.
I think they should burn Hot Lake to the ground and cover its ashes with salt.
Michael says, in the many years he's owned the place, he's only had one experience.
Saw something move all the way at the other end of the hall. It was my reflection as I walked by.
In 2003, Hot Lake was saved when bronze statue artist David Manuel purchased the property and spent millions rebuilding and preserving the remaining buildings. Today, the Rezevi's own Hot Lake Springs Resort, and they've renovated the rooms, reopened the soaking pools, and added a bar, which Michael admits would probably make the place's prohibitionist founders roll over in their grave.
We've got a chapel that we're going to turn into the confessional pub, and a speakeasy that'll have a secret entrance, and so on and so forth.
Well, if you don't like the weather in Oregon, you can wait 10 minutes, or just jump into the mineral-rich waters at Hot Lake Springs Resort.
From the very wet and moist Hot Lake Springs Resort, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back roads.
How fun. Who's up for a road trip? Well, you can find more Bartel's Backroads destinations on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. They are all under the Shows tab. Scroll down to Travel, Bartel's Backroads. You can download the free app to your TV. Well, thank you so much for watching and inviting us into your home. If you have something you think we should be looking into, you can reach out to me and the team. Email tothepoint@abc10.com. And of course, To The Point doesn't end here. To watch stories featured on the show, you can download our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app to your TV. Have a great and safe weekend. See you later.